What up, y'all? It's Jamba once again with another video. My thermal looks a little it's not as white as I would like it to look because of the lighting. I gotta one day, people. One day I'm gonna get a lighting set up. One day I'm gonna get a mic. Just bear with me. Bear with me. This is just the beginning. We got another Jenner video. I'm Jenner's number one fan. He knows I'm his number one fan. And it's been a minute since I been a little bit since I reacted to his videos. So I thought this was interesting. It's about 9 minutes long. Ugh, this might be a long one, but it's an interesting concept. Is how to test for a high quality woman. What's the test? The test. Let's be honest. This guy is more than likely probably not dating black or probably not dating women besides white, which is fine. So I think for a guy like him, the first portion of the test is okay. What does this woman look like? Okay, let's move the some of the more ethnic women that. And again, I'm not. It's not. It's. I don't think it's a bad thing if a person doesn't like a particular race, even if it's their own race. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. Now, I think we should be able to make fun of it, but I believe that we should be able to make fun of pretty much everything. So let's be honest. He's going for white girls, and if not white girls, then probably an Asian girl, right? Which is fine, bro. you know, um, the next thing he's probably looking for is religious background, obviously. So primarily Christian or maybe Catholic. He might date a Catholic. He's probably looking for a woman who has a low body count, right? Even though this is not something we can verify, it's not like every time a woman acquires a body, they get a tattoo on their face or like a scar like Victor Zsasz from the Batman series. So there's no way you can really necessarily determine it. He probably doesn't want a woman who has tattoos. He probably doesn't want a woman who has certain political affiliations, which can make sense because of um, you want someone with similar values. He probably wants somebody who comes from a two-parent household. He probably wants somebody who is kind and is in decent shape. So somebody who goes to the gym. This is a guy who's in shape himself. And what else? Probably and obviously somebody who doesn't have any kids, but wants kids. So those are this is just based on what I wish I had like a Uno, not Uno, bingo, like a bingo card to see which ones that he talks about, like a Jenner bingo. But yeah, let's dig in because this is already going to be a long video. So
What is a high quality woman? Well, I think that a high quality woman is what we want as young guys. We want a woman who's going to stick with us through the ups and downs of life, a woman who has not been ran through by the football team, a woman that cares about family, faith, stuff that's important to us. I know it's kind of what I'm looking for, and I want to talk about in this video how you kind of test for a high quality woman. Because if you just ask a girl, what are you like, and she knows that you value those things and she really likes you, she's just going to tell you what you want to hear. It's like a job. Like, imagine you're interviewing for some 500K job, and the interviewer says, like, so tell me about yourself. You're going to tell them exactly what they want to hear. You're not going to tell them the whole truth.
that's true. But then again, I don't believe that a lot of women know what guys want because I think a lot of them think that guys want the same thing that they want. So if you were to ask women, hey, like what makes you like a very high quality woman? A lot of times they might talk about what it is that they do for a living and how much money they make or how successful they are, which are good things, but these are not necessarily things that men highly value. You know what I mean? So
Truth or
it can be true sometimes, but not all the time. More I think it's not true more times than not.
what they might find out about you after you've had that job for a couple months. And the same is true for dating. It's just human psychology. Like, if we really want something, we're going to kind of bend stuff to try to get it. You don't want to put yourself in a situation where you end up dating or marrying a woman that's not actually high quality. There's three main things that I've learned over my years of dating. I've dated 3 girls, and I wish I knew these earlier, but these are just kind of simple ways to kind of test for a woman's quality, to see if a woman is actually going to make a good girlfriend or a good wife. And the first one is actually just to talk to her about her relationships in her life right now, like her friendships and her relationships with her family, her relationship with her siblings, her relationship with her friends, her relationship with her dad. That's a big one usually, but you just kind of ask questions that are very vague.
Let's be honest, it's just mainly dad. Sorry, ladies, but there's truth in it. Mainly dad. Overall, it's good stuff, but it's mainly the father. Because a woman can have good relationships with her friends and not her dad, and that's wouldn't be as good as a woman who has a good relationship with her dad but doesn't have great relationships with like her friends. It will still be a red flag, but most guys would prefer the woman who doesn't have these super strong female friend relationships, but it had a very strong relationship with their father. Like that would probably be more appealing to most men than the latter,
And like, tell me about your friends,
the former.
tell me about your roommates. If this girl is always beefing with her roommates, her friends, she doesn't talk to her dad, she doesn't really like her siblings, that's a huge red flag because she is probably going to have similar patterns in her romantic relationship and her marriage. If she has like a lot of friction with the people she lives with consistently, like if she has one roommate a couple years ago or something that she had beef with, that's not like a red flag. But if she's consistently every single year, like she's saying, I always have bad roommates, that's a bad sign. If she doesn't have a good relationship with her siblings, that's a really bad sign. Like if she has
He's right. This is some good stuff, but I would say more so hone in on her when she talks about the men in her past, or at least the men who she tells you about, the her exes or her ex or what. Like I think and that's also important as well. And he might even touch on this.
3 sisters and none of them are like tight. What do you think that really says about her? And these are also really good because it's not gonna like put that warning sign off in her head of like, oh, I gotta lie. Like she's usually gonna just think,
It's a good point, Jenner. It's a very good point. Because she could lie about her exes, but she might be less inclined, or probably would be less inclined to lie about like her family troubles and stuff like that. So good point. Touche. Touche, bro.
you guys are bantering or like having a conversation, and she's more likely to kind of let out some of the things of her past, like her relationships with maybe her ex-boyfriend, stuff like that might come out. These are all things you want to keep in mind. I'm telling you, if this girl is talking like shit about her friends, about her family, she's going to do the same thing about you. If she's always like in conflict with her family, with her friends,
And who says you can't learn from the young people?
she's way more likely to always be in conflict with you in the future. Now, the second way you can kind of test for a high quality woman is to figure out her sexual history, but this one's not as simple as you think. So
It's not simple, bro. It ain't simple. It kind of is simple. I mean, I got my ways, but not then again, a woman's sexual history doesn't bother me as much as back when I was like this guy's age, or maybe when I was like in my early 20s or late teens or whatever the fuck. Like it really bothered me then. I'll be honest with you. It doesn't bother me as much as anymore, and as much anymore, primarily because the vast majority of women have already dealt with dudes before I got there. Like it's and it's the it just is what it is. So my Overton window has shifted pretty dramatically. So it might be something that I look for. So now it might not be, oh, if she has more than 10 bodies. No, like it's not that. It's more so like there's just other things. I'm not even gonna say what they are, but there are worse things sexually than having 12 men that you slept with. There's also the question of what is the context in which you slept with those guys, if you know what I mean. Are you a box salesman? Are you on the market? Is there footage of you on the interwebs? I'm more so concerned about that than the number, because I'm not trying to be married and a guy can just pull out my wife's archives. It's just on Reddit. It's right there on X, on the Twitterverse. You know what I mean? Like I don't I like that is like that's ugh. But her having like I don't know 15 or even, and that is still a lot, but you know because your average is like 7, I believe, for the average human being. Like people, I said this before, the average amount of sexual partners for a person is like 7 or 8 or whatever. At least that's what the internet says. Um, but if a woman has like even double that, yeah, but it's not like in your face. It's not like there's no record of it. But if a woman is gagging and yakking and getting smacked on Twitter, it's there and it's there forever. So we're in 2024.
So don't like skip over this one. You have to be strategic because girls know that if you're like a guy that values body count, they're going to do everything they can to hide if they have a high body count, if they've had some hookups. So you want to just be smart with like how you act. Like you can't just come out on a first date or something like that and be like, "What's your body count?" Like that's never going to go over well. And also she's going to know, okay, this is really important to him. I got to lie. What you kind
Also, no. That's not what's going to happen. Most women are going to be completely turned off by the body count question. Here's the reason why. Number one, they're going to associate you with being a misogynist. Number two, they're going to assume that if you're asking about their body count, they're going to assume that I believe that they're probably going to think that you care a lot about body count, and they might associate that with you as a man being inexperienced with women, whether it's just in general or sexually. And unfortunately, fellas, I'm sorry for my virgins out there, but women, generally speaking, do not really like men who are sexually inexperienced, especially in 2024. Like you probably couldn't have gotten away with only being with a few women back in your mama day, back in your dad. Like you could have maybe gotten away with it. You can't really get away with it now. I don't think, right? Um, so it's just not a really a why. It's just not a you gotta don't ask that question because then or if a woman, let's say you ask a woman and she says, well, what's your body count, and then you say what your body count is, fellas, more than likely your body count is probably more than likely going to be less than hers. So you might think, well, shit, I got 8. Let's say you're like 25, 26 years old and you say, oh well, my body count is 11, and you think your shit is high, and she's had 33. Now she's looking at you like, oh, this man is not only probably a misogynist, but he's also not sexually experienced. So why would I want to date a sexually inexperienced misogynist? And then they're going to come to the conclusion of this person is not sexually experienced because he's a Messiah. Like you kind of see like there's kind of like a flow chart of reasons why you just shouldn't do it. And also it's not like the most like respectable, classy question to ask. So I think there's other ways in which you can kind of gather information as to whether or not your woman is sexually experienced. Because the truth of the matter is you're never going to know the number. So it's not about the number. It's just more so about like a frame of reference or an idea of the type of lifestyle that your woman might have had prior to you getting with her. So for some women, it might have been, okay, I was in a relationship, I got out, I slept with a couple guys, and then I stopped for like 6 months, and then I started dating you. That some women might have that trajectory, and for some women, it's one dude every other day, like a dick a day. Like you heard of a one a day, like the one a day vitamin. With some women, it's a dick a day, a, a dick a day vitamin, right? So if you're dealing with a dick a day girl, yeah, you're gonna have to figure out what those signs are. But if you're dealing with a woman who might have had a few here or there, I think that's something that you can work with.
of want to do is casually ask her about how do you feel about hookups versus like relationship sex. Maybe like just ask her like, oh, like what's your like craziest, one night stand story, stuff like this. Now,
Right.
obviously, if you find a girl at a church, don't scare her off and don't be a freaking idiot and be like, yeah, like tell me about your most crazy sex story. And then she's like, this guy's crazy. I'm talking about if you're actually looking to test a woman, if you find a girl in some sort of religious community that comes from a great family, don't scare her off with this stuff. This is not the video for you. But I'm talking about if you match with a girl on a dating app, if you meet a girl at the gym, something like that, and you
Don't be fooled. The women that you meet at church more than likely has those adventures and sexcapades as well. Now he's right not to ask, but that doesn't mean that these women who are in the church, and I'm not saying that these women shouldn't worship. I mean, I believe that, you know, you can have a past, whether you're a man or a woman, and still be able to ask for forgiveness and create a new path for yourself, repent and all that. Like I'm in agreement of that, but it's, you know what I mean? Like a lot of these women at the church, you know, they weren't always kneeling for Jesus. Let's just.
You're just trying to figure out, is this a high quality woman? These are really useful tools. I'll just kind of casually bring up, like, when it presents itself in the first couple dates, I really like a deeper connection. I like the relationship. And then I'll kind of casually bring up, like, what has your experience been with hookups? Like, do you find them fulfilling? And then you'll usually get an answer of, like, well, I've never really hooked up or anything like that. Or the girl will be like, yeah, like, I don't like hooking up. It's just not fun, like stuff like that. And you kind of get a little glimpse into, well, she's been down that road. And sometimes girls will just come out and say, like, yeah, like I went through a hoe phase freshman year and it wasn't fun. I got like 8 bodies. That's not ideal. That's really bad. I'm glad that I kind of figured that out. You just have to be strategic. And it is sad. Like, this is the way the world is now, but you have to put yourself in a situation to prioritize your time and to prioritize the women that you get in relationships with. And the worst place you can be is like 4 or 5 months into a relationship and you figure out this girl was passed around a fraternity pledge class like a freaking blunt. You don't want that. You want to figure these things out before you settle down. And this is kind of a casual way to just figure out her sexual history. I'm telling you, if you come out on like the second date and just be like,
And you also just can't go based on what they say. You also have to go based on their action. He's talking a lot about like getting the information from what they're saying, which sure, but just the action. I will say this, and I don't like to talk about my personal stuff with women like that, especially on a platform. I was with a woman and she did something that I was when she this is not something that I like to do often. Again, I'm just prefacing it. Before she to put her hair in a ponytail while we were together in an intimate setting, you can kind of fill in the fucking blank, right? To put her hair in a ponytail, she used her panties to put her hair to put her hair in a ponytail. She used her panties. Prior to that, she talked about how she wasn't all of that experience when it came to, you know, sex and all that. I'm not gonna say like I straight up believed her, but I'm like, okay, all right. And I wasn't tripping really either way. Again, this was what she was telling me. She's telling me about how inexperienced she was. Her putting why can't I fucking talk? Her putting her panties in a ponytail, that is what we call a veteran move. That's not a beginner move. That's a veteran move. That is an up and under spin move and one. That's not something that a beginner does. That's veteran. Matter of fact, when she did it, I was so, even when I was in the moment, I was like, damn, where'd you learn that shit from? Cosmo magazine? Use her panties to tie her hair up in a ponytail before doing the act that white women do when they put their hair in a ponytail. Y'all can fill in the blank. And I'm not even that fucking guy. I'm not. So don't. This is not me bragging or nothing. So my point is that when she did that, oh, I saw. I'm like, oh no, you, mm mm mm. I felt like I was being hustled in more ways than one.
like, yeah, like I'm a very strong Christian. I really care about sexual history. What's your body count? And this girl is attracted to you and she likes you. A lot of times she will just lie to you to make you happy. And that's maybe not fun, but it's just the truth. Now, the third thing that I like to do to test for a high quality woman is kind of walk through hypothetical situations in the future with her and just kind of get an idea of where she's going. I did this with my last relationship and it gave me a lot more kind of courage and confidence breaking up because I realized that the futures that we had in mind didn't really line up that well. And you just kind of want to ask her, like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? What are you going to do if this happens? What are you going to do if this happens? Another thing you can do, if you're having sex with this woman, like if you're already like physically intimate with her and you've just started dating, or maybe you've just started having sex, you can kind of walk her through like what would happen if you got pregnant. This can be a very
Hey man, Jenner, bro, we gotta fucking collab. I've been telling men, and I know I haven't let him finish. I've been telling men, fellas, I've been telling men, I'm looking at the camera. I'm gonna clip this shit. Fellas, stop having sex with women to where if you got her pregnant, you'd be pissed off. I'm gonna repeat. Stop having sex with women to where if you got them pregnant, you'd be pissed off. If you just did that, first of all, most of y'all wouldn't be having sleeping with the women that y'all be sleeping with. More times than not, you wouldn't be. Because a lot of y'all are either having sex with women to where they're just good enough for you to sleep with in regards to how they look, but you know that you don't want to be seen in public with them. How you don't want to be seen in public with a woman, but you would put your dick in them? Now, I'm saying this as a person who has, again, I'm no better than the men that I'm preaching to. However, what I've known is that once I've adopted this principle, you do tend to save a lot of time, money, and energy, and you don't waste that woman's time and yours. You don't waste your time, money, energy, gas, all that shit, and potentially a lot more money if you end up getting that woman pregnant. Because a lot of times, you ever notice, fellas, where it's like these oops and these situations happen, and you hear about this happening with like NBA dudes, and it's because the man didn't want to get that woman pregnant. At least with the woman that you're dating, at least you like her enough to date her. Or even if it's a woman who's a quote unquote hookup, at least have her be a woman that you're truly attracted to. A lot of y'all fellas be having sex with women that you're not even really attracted to. Man, we're not gonna talk about that.
useful tool. Now, again, I'm not telling you to like be having sex with a girl you're not dating or have sex before marriage. The Bible says you shouldn't do that. I've done that
Right,
in my past relationship, so I can't sit here and like preach to you. But something
right.
that can be very valuable into learning about this woman is to be like, well, let's say like hypothetically you got pregnant. Like what would happen?
Mhm.
And if she's kind of leaning towards like, yeah, I'd probably get an abortion or something like that, that's a clear sign you need to get the fuck out of that relationship. Any girl that doesn't take pregnancy and human life extremely seriously, that's just the
I forgot pro life. Dang it. Well, I guess pro life. I because when I was talking about like what he wants in a woman, I talked about the whole he wants somebody who kind of aligns with him politically. I forgot pro life. I forgot that. That's also important.
most massive red flag you could possibly get. You want a woman who takes children, pregnancy, marriage, things that are like very important, super seriously. You want a woman who prioritizes those things. And if you kind of like casually say, like, what would be the steps we would take if you got pregnant? And she's like, well, I'd probably lean towards getting an abortion or something like that. That's where you know that you're just dealing with a very low quality woman. It's very sad, and it's something that a lot of guys don't really understand, but abortion's a lot more common than you think. I think it's about 20% of women in America will have an abortion throughout their lifetime. And this is the type of woman that you never want to associate with, let alone settle down with and date, or God forbid, marry. This is
Damn, ladies, he's calling y'all out. He's calling y'all out. What you gonna say? Put in the comment section. What you gonna say to that? He's saying not even to associate with y'all. That's he's not saying not to date y'all. He's saying not to even to fuck with y'all. I haven't heard that take. I'll be honest with you. I haven't heard that take.
is not a good thing. It's extremely evil. And you just don't want a woman who would ever consider that. I think there's a direct correlation with likelihood to get an abortion and likelihood to be a terrible partner. Like if you
Ooh, ladies, y'all got to comment. Look, ladies, if y'all watching this and you not in the comment section right now or in his comment section, then
knew this girl you're dating would never even consider getting an abortion, it's probably a direct sign that girl will be a good mother and be a good long-term partner.
Now I'm not going to agree to that. Just because you believe in one thing doesn't mean that the other thing is true, bro. You got a lot of pro life women who are very crazy and nutty and won't make fucking good partners. So let's not say that. And I would even say there are pro abortion women or women who've had abortions who are good moms. And so I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with this. I understand where his logic is coming from his pro life perspective or whatever. But I don't. Again, man, don't be fooled, bro. Don't be fooled.
Literally, like if you could potentially see the girl that you're dating right now has maybe had an abortion in the past, that's a huge red flag. You want a girl that would never consider that. You want a high quality woman that prioritizes faith, family, taking her sexuality seriously, taking things like delaying gratification, fitness, being in good communities, being a good friend. These are the type of things that you really want. And it's sad that there's a lot of propaganda and there's a lot of movements right now that have made most women in the West low quality women. But there are still good women out there. There's good women in the church. You can find good women in the gym. You can find good women in all different pockets of the world. You just have to kind of know how to vet them well and realize who's actually a high quality woman, who's not, because you can't just come out and be outright. As sad as it is, you're going to waste your time, you're going to get played. You have to be strategic in how you do this, and I want the best for you. I don't want you to have to go through a year of dating a girl that you realize is not going to be a good mother, is not going to be a good wife, is not going to be a good partner for you. You want to have a life partner that will make your life better and less hellish. And that's kind of my three main things that I use to.
All right. I think this is a pretty good video, man. I thought I look, I've gotten some. I personally learned something new. I think that some I can add to my arsenal if I'm seeing a woman in a semi-serious way, and as we move along with the dating process or whatever, is to ask about her relationships and ask about her not just her past relationships, but her relationships with her friends and family and roommates and so on and so forth. I think so. There's some good information in this video. There's some stuff in this video that I obviously disagree with, and I touched on that, especially kind of toward the end there. Um, some good stuff, man. Some good, totally good stuff in this thing, man. Be sure to like and subscribe. If you haven't checked out his page yet, check out his page, man. He has some good stuff on it. Even if you're not a white Christian conservative, even if you come on a different, even if you're a black liberal, person of the LGBT community, still some good stuff, man. I'm going to endorse his page, not because I agree with his stuff, but because I think that he's putting out some good content that is worth a conversation to be had. So yeah, this is Jamba, and I'll be back.